first off, our first story is going to be... Okay, so this story, it took me down some rabbit holes, and it made me realize something a lot about just paranormal research in general and the way that we approach these things. And this story is going to be, is Ted Bundy's ghost still haunting us? Now, I came across this because I was looking for stuff on killer ghosts, and of course, when you type in killer ghosts, I got results for ghosts of serial killers. Oh, that's great. That's actually probably more interesting than ghosts who kill people. I came across an article in a website, Psychology Today is the website. It's a very reputable website. It's not a fringe website. It's not a goofy news website like the Daily Star or anything like that. Had an interesting article about the ghost of Ted Bundy. And it profiles these different stories. Now, the author of this article wrote a book also called Blood and Ghosts. It's about supernatural events or ghosts, paranormal events at crime scenes. Sounds very fascinating. I've always wondered how much police officers and EMTs and things like that encounter a ghost. It's probably not a lot, but you figure these are people who are constantly dealing with tragic situations. They're out in remote areas late at night. I've been watching a lot of Twin Peaks lately. But even before Twin Peaks, actually, no, maybe the first Twin Peaks when it was being aired on CBS, it may have given me that idea. But how often do the police and the FBI and EMTs and stuff, what if you were a fireman and you ran into a haunted house? That actually is a pretty good idea for a movie. Fire Ghost. Fahrenheit 450 Ghost? I don't know. I'll figure that one out. But anyways, so... Okay, so I'm off topic. Okay, Ted Bundy's ghost. So the Psychology Today article, it's an interesting article, and it talks about sightings of Ted Bundy's ghost. Now, the first thing is they talk about, so at the prison where Ted Bundy was executed, this guard, he's anonymous. He didn't want his name revealed because, obviously the guard's going to feel that they are going to be harassed and made fun of and stuff like that. But anyways, this guard said that other guards at the prison have seen Ted Bundy's ghost sitting in the electric chair. This is about 2001 when this story was told. But anyway, so, which sounds terrifying. An execution room isn't the most calm place anyways. It's not a place like, I just need to get away from the guys. I want to eat my break on by myself. I don't want to be bugged. I'm going to go in the execution room, eat a sandwich. So he says that in the execution chamber where, I keep wanting to say Bill Cosby, where the execution chamber where Ted Bundy was electrocuted to death, the guards have stated that they have seen his ghost sitting in the electric chair, terrifying, and then he turns to them with what is known as a knowing smile, and then he would say, oh, no, he wouldn't say anything then. He would just turn and smile and then disappear. But he was also seen in other parts of the prison, specifically his holding cell on death row, and he would say, well, I beat all of you, didn't I? And then he would fade away. These are terrifying things. I personally think serial killers are very gauche. I think it's tacky. I think it's one of the tackiest crimes possible. I'll do another episode on that. But anyways, so this guy is the serial killer, blah, blah, blah. His ghost is popping around. And it got to the point where the guard said, the warden of the prison said, if anyone ever repeats this story, you're fired. I'm tired of hearing about Ted Bundy's ghost. The Psychology Today article goes on to say that mediums have said that they've channeled him. Mediums have said, or he's been spotted on the porch of a home that he rented out in Tallahassee. The Psychology Today actually had a really even more creepy segment about Ted Bundy's ghost. So he went to University of Puget Sound. Puget? I think it's Puget. University of... I don't remember how I said it. University of Puget Sound. Anyways, the school newspaper there, the Puget Sound Trail, did an article saying that students there have seen his ghost so regularly, they actually gave him a nickname, Teddy the Friendly Ghost. And the reason why they call him Teddy the Friendly Ghost is because apparently he's quite friendly. He will walk young co-eds across campus, which is terrifying, but he can't do anything to them. And the co-eds are saying, it's just kind of a pleasing presence to have somebody there with me, blah, blah, blah. And he's been spotted at parties, like dancing along to parties. I'm just quoting the article. And they ended up doing a Ouija board thing, Ouija ceremony, a Ouija board reading. I don't know the exact terminology, but anyways, and the message that came across was, I cannot touch them, so many to kill, and I cannot touch them. It is my hell. That's really creepy, and actually that would be hell for a serial killer. to be trapped in a form where all of your pert, nubile, young, tasty victims can just walk by you and go, "Oh, Teddy," and you can't touch him, you can't interact with him. That's how he exhibited his power. Now, he also had a huge obsession with pornography, and you figure being a ghost would actually help that, because you could just fly to pornographic sets, or just, I guess, hang out in girls' rooms, really, if you're a horny ghost. Here's the thing. Everything in this article is complete nonsense. Absolutely. And I read this article and I thought, wow, this is really, really creepy. And I had the story ready to go. I was ready to move on it. And something inside of me said, you know what? Double check this story. Because something didn't sit right with it. And what it was specifically was the scene where Bundy was partying with the kids at the school. That's really what clued me in that this was a fake story. Okay, so this was the actual quote. This is really and I read this quote multiple times and I thought it was weird, but because it was sourced in the Psychology Today article, I just let it pass, and then I decided to finally look into it a little bit more. I'm going to read you the quote first. The quote is, and this is from the Puget Sound Trail article, Bundy's ghost is not just popular with girls, but with guys as well. Quote, "He's a crazy guy to party with, especially if there are girls dancing," unquote, said junior Kyle Verklin at an off-campus party that was shut down for noise complaints and paranormal activity. Quote, "T. Bundy can tear the dance floor up. Something about seeing those girls bump and grind made him go crazy. Hands down the best thing I've ever seen at a UPS party," unquote. I read it the first time. I thought it was weird that the party was shut down for paranormal activity, the fact that he was called T. Bundy, the fact that there was this ghost of Ted Bundy. But I let it go. I continued to prep this story. I came across it again. I was reading the article again. I still let it go. Before I decided to start recording this, I just needed to check something out. It is in the Puget Sound Trail school newspaper, in a section called Combat Zone, which is, surprise, surprise, a parody/comedy part of the student newspaper. This is completely made up. This is the part that contained the Ouija board. It never happened. They never called him Ted the Friendly Ghost. He never walks girls across campus. And he definitely was never bumping and grinding with girls as T. Bundy. And a party was not shut down due to paranormal activity. Once I eliminated half the article, I went back to the story of the guard in the prison. I researched that. We never know the name of the guard, which is fine. I understand people want to be anonymous, but we never know the name of the reporter who initially told the story to. We never know the name of the newspaper that published the article. We never know the name of the warden who said you can't talk about Ted Bundy's ghost. There is no sourcing for this. And every time I found a reference to the story of the warden, they all linked back to the Psychology Today website. Completely made up. It's an urban legend that somebody told, and the Psychology Today reported it. And the reason why this is important, the reason why I still wanted to go ahead with the story, was that as fans of paranormal stuff, I want to believe in this stuff. And I do believe in this stuff. I've had personal experiences. I've seen stuff that makes me believe in this stuff. So when I come across these articles, and I think when most people who are fans of this stuff come across these articles, our willingness to believe overrides our logic sometimes. And I think it's important for us to then step back and go, let's get a little more info on this. Just because a legitimate website reports it doesn't mean it's legitimate. But you'll notice this a lot. You'll hear an interesting story, and if you start to look into it, you realize that there's nothing behind it. Typical thing, regular rule in journalism: who, what, when, where, why, how. Now, I know in paranormal stories, you're never going to get the how or the why unless it's provably fake. The why is usually money or attention, and the how is wires and a sheet and a flashlight. A lot of times people want to rename anonymous, and I get that. But we need to have when, we need to have where, we need to have more details. I understand the person wanted to stay anonymous, but who wrote the article initially about this? Everyone talks about this was a paper in Florida, a newspaper in Florida, a journalist in Florida. Who? It's made up. And it's frustrating because I want to read these stories and I want them to have some credibility because I want to believe in this stuff. I did find an interesting story related to this, and this kind of shows the other side of this argument that I'm making. There is a contractor who says that he worked on the house that Ted Bundy grew up in, and it's haunted. This contractor This article is in the News Tribune. It's a Washington paper. And this contractor is saying, I went to this house. My name is Casey Clopton. I was the contractor. This started in September of the year 2017, fairly recent. Was seeing things like drawers being opened when they shouldn't have been opened, electronic devices failing, finding messages like leave and help me written in the sawdust on the ground. He brings his young girl over and she doesn't want to be there. Other people have stopped by. They didn't want to be there. He didn't know it was Ted Bundy's home. He got two priests to come in to that's bad timing, to bless the place. And he wrote Bible verses on the walls, and then he just finished his job as quickly as he could. He said it was both scary and neat, and that's the story. Now, it's possible, obviously, he's making it up. And it's also possible that he could not be making it up, but things like going into a house and your phone dying, electronics do die. Kids don't want to be places they don't want to be in general. Some places just have a creepy vibe, and you could heighten the otherwise normally mundane things because they kind of stack on top of each other, and it doesn't mean that it's haunted. So there's the possibility it's haunted, the possibility he's making it up, or the possibility that it's not haunted, he's not making it up. It was just a series of odd coincidences that were happening in order. Leave and help me, someone could have wrote that, a ghost could have wrote that, he could be making it up, I don't know. But you see the difference in these two articles. One has far more facts about it. It's less compelling and less scary. It's just the guy saying, I worked in a haunted house for a couple months and it was creepy, and the creepiest thing was I saw leave written in the sawdust. The other one has direct communication with Ted Bundy and prison guards interacting with Ted Bundy. And generally, as listeners, as readers, we give more weight to people in official positions. So a contractor saying he saw a ghost, we weigh differently than if a prison guard said that he saw a ghost. Same thing if someone sees a UFO versus a pilot sees a UFO. We weigh those things different. I'm more apt to believe the Casey Clopton story, the contractor story. Actually, no, let's rephrase it. I'm 1,000 times more likely to believe that story from that guy that I've never met than I am to believe the Psychology Today article because it's provably false. But it's funny because I was ready to believe both of them equally. And actually, I think I was ready to believe the Psychology Today article more because it was a reputable website. So, the key thing here is that we, as fans of this, as researchers of this, really need to do our due diligence. And we need to be willing to call out things that are fake or we believe are fake. There's nothing wrong with that. It may be less fun. There's always that old saying, you'll never sell 1 million books about UFOs if you say UFOs are fake. And that's true. But I think there's enough real UFO stories out there and enough real ghost stories out there and enough real conspiracy stories out there. And they might not be as sexy as the made-up ones. But because they are real and because they have enough to go on that someone can research them years later, they are far more fascinating than Ted Bundy's ghost dancing at a party. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.
Hey ghouls and guys, do you like to get spooky and stay spooky? Then check out our podcast, The Golden Ghouls. Each week we talk about our favorite things, ghosts and the paranormal. Sound like a good time? Then give us a listen on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Goodbye.